What's happening, everyone? Coach T, Professor Mike, back from Gracie Bar Round Day Leeds. Some more technique videos for you here on our YouTube channel. I hope you guys are well during lockdown 3.0. Okay, we're kind of focusing on movement in the academy right now, okay, doing Zoom classes for our members. We want to talk about the bridging in Jiu-Jitsu, okay? We talked the other day about lateral movement, hip escapes, butt scoots. Today we're talking about movement which creates space from underneath our opponent, okay, underneath our partner. Okay, if Coach C wants to lay down for me real quick, what I mean by that is, I'm a bit injured, so I can't really do this technique at the moment, but if we imagine that we have someone who is mounted on Coach T and he bridges really well, okay, when he creates frames and holds my hand in position, when he removes himself from there, he creates this space underneath. And it's that space when we create that which enables us to move laterally, okay, and create angles and escape out of the position. And that's where our hip escapes come in. And we're going to look at how the two combine at the end of this video. For now, I want to talk about the mechanics of the bridge. You may have heard it referred as the UPA. Okay, we're going to call it the bridge. And this is the level 1 bridge, okay? If you want to show us what bad foot position looks like in the bridge, okay? If our feet are away from our hips, we lose power, okay? We want to use the power in our glutes, our hips, our hamstrings to create as much force through the floor to push ourselves into the air vertically, okay? So by moving our feet closer to our butt, keeping the flat of our feet on the floor, particularly our heels, we can engage our glutes, which gives us the maximum amount of power, okay? And that's important. Another kind of sometimes mistake we see here is people just being on their toes, okay? If they're just on their toes, two things can happen. One, we can't generate the power through the glutes because the heels aren't engaged. And two, sometimes when we put the power down, we actually just slide vertically across the mat, okay? And that's a bad day, or we lose our feet because we've got less surface area contact. So we want flat feet on the floor to start with. Okay, our level 1 bridge looks like this. It's just hips as high as we can. Okay, good. Notice how Coach T comes up to the toes at the end of the movement. So he goes back down. The whole of the foot presses through the floor, particularly the heels, activates the glutes. He goes up and he goes up to the toes, creating a maximum amount of movement and back down. Notice his hand position on his chest, protecting his neck, ready to react, okay? That's level 1. Level 2, the only difference here, the legs do the same, the hips do the same. This time, Coach T is going to rotate over one shoulder. After you, mate, good. And then he's going to come back to the start position. Over the other shoulder, notice his hand is looking over the shoulder, the position is rolling, and his other hand is touching the mat next to his head. Okay, that's our level 2 bridge, okay? And that's the start point, really, for understanding how we can get out from underneath our opponents and how we can start to sweep people from the mount, for instance, the upper escape, etc., etc. Okay, just want to move so you've got your head to the camera. Here's a top tip, okay? So when we start to think about manipulating our opponents and taking them off balance and escaping, we need to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible with our movement, okay? And one of the ways to do that is to create more space from our body to move through. Okay, if you just level 2 bridge for me over to the side, Coach T, you'll know that his head, look, it gets anchored onto the floor by the side of his head here, and it restricts his ability to move through the position, okay? That's a problem, okay? We can overcome that by just escaping our head first. So he tucked his ear to his shoulder, okay, the opposite way he wants to move, and now he's opened up this big gap here, look. And this is the space which allows his body to move into it. So when he moves into that level 2 bridge, you can see how much further he's moved. His chest's almost on the mat, like the top of his chest is touching the mat. That's a great start position. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to move through the position to our knees, which enables us to come on top, okay? So this, let's say an upper escape or a bridge and roll from someone mounting us only works if we're able to come on top. And we need to be able to turn our hips over at the top position. Okay, this looks like this. So he escapes his head, comes through, and he rolls his hips over to the knees. And now he's on the top position. Okay? So one more time, that's level 1, okay? So he escapes the head, he bridges over, comes through to the knees, rolls the hips on the top, and now he's in the top position. Come back down. Level 2 for that is moving through onto the feet first and then the knees. So he escapes the head again. rolls over, feet, and you can either stand straight up, okay, or you could come back into combat base or back to your knees, but because you've stood in base onto your foot, your hips have gone higher and you have better posture, okay, so that's more advantageous. And one of the best drills we can do to develop hip mobility and bridging mechanics is the last one that Coach T did. Can you do it one more time? Which is where our knees aren't allowed to touch the floor at all. Okay? So we escape the head, big bridge, come over to our feet, stand straight up. That's a really good mechanical movement we can practice in Jiu-Jitsu. So that's it. That's the bridge. That's all you need to know. All right? The only other kind of component is how this vertical movement kind of fits in with our sideways horizontal movement, our hip escaping. Okay, so we need to be able to connect the two movements. So this looks like this. Coach T will do a big bridge, and then from there he will hip escape whilst his opponent is above him. Okay, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bump them up and move while they're there. Bump up and move before they come back down. So we can start to connect these movements, and when you get to a stage where you can connect them smoothly, that's when you'll be able to move really, really well, even when you've got a heavy opponent on top of you. Okay? Happy days, good movement, Coach T. So there you go, guys, some bridging mechanics for you to practice at home. Can't emphasize it enough. You cannot do enough practice for this stuff. Okay? Practice at home all the time, practice in the academy, get into your fundamentals classes, and be the best mover in Jiu-Jitsu you can possibly be. All right, guys? All the best. See you soon. Good try.